In this video, I'm going to discuss narcissistic behaviors using the example of a female narcissist friend. The patterns I'll describe apply to any narcissistic setting, regardless of gender, so everyone can benefit from watching this video. You'll likely recognize these same patterns in areas like politics, celebrities, cults, mafias, churches, human trafficking, wars, and many other situations. This is because it's a holographic structure that can scale up or down, becoming either more subtle or more vivid depending on the emotional climate within a particular reality. The more emotions that align with narcissistic energy present in the environment, the stronger this structure can manifest in the physical world. We are the creators of those emotions. If we don't create them, this structure cannot manifest. The power is in our hands, collectively. Your intentions matter, but what you create emotionally is what matters most. If you have good intentions but create narcissistic energy, you are, unknowingly, part of the controlled opposition. If you recognize any of these patterns from this video, or from your own behaviors, now or in the past, don't try to deny or cover it up. Acknowledge it for what it is. Understand that we are all part of this experience, and we all carry these patterns, often on subtle levels. No one is immune to this. We are being coerced into working for narcissistic consciousness, as it represents the dominant consciousness in the world today. We need to recognize that this is one big distortion, an inversion, and a setup. The key is to step back, stop feeding into it, and allow what is real to arise from the heart. There should be no judgment, no blame, and no finger pointing, just awareness of where things are coming from and leaving behind everything that connects you to unconsciousness. Once you're ready, this is the way forward. A narcissist always enters an environment with the agenda of invading and conquering people's minds. They seek to control perceptions of events, beliefs, thoughts, words, and actions. The narcissist herself may have no idea that this is what she's being used for by the consciousness that influences her mind and body. Her main goal is to feel good in the environment. She may see herself as an alpha female, a natural leader, a charismatic personality, or simply someone smarter than others. Her behaviors are often validated and applauded by those around her, most importantly by society's image of a winner. She is the architect of a reality that serves her and the narcissistic consciousness. This reality will wear down those who live from a humane consciousness, making them look bad. From day one, she gathers information, evidence, and does research about the environment she enters. She understands that the best way to gather the most intimate and powerful information about key people in her new environment is to befriend them. People let their guard down when they feel emotionally involved, and they often feel pressured to reveal the intimate details of their lives to their so-called dear and loving friends. By key personalities, I mean those who may pose a threat to the narcissist's future empire. These individuals could be more likable, better at something, a competitor in some way, or simply more individualistic, those who think for themselves. The narcissist knows that she must either bring them under her control or, if that's not possible, destroy them at a later time. She loves to create family-like structures. Every narcissistic system, whether big or small, is highly family-oriented because it taps into a deep human need, the lack of acceptance, love, and care that we all yearn for. This is at the core of every narcissistic system. She makes you feel loved and accepted, and she does this by creating an environment that fosters these feelings. This could involve cooking meals together at home or creating an atmosphere free from judgment and gossip, one filled with acceptance and understanding. She fosters an environment of mutual help and support whenever you need it, making you feel good in that space. It doesn't feel forced, and no one acts angry after offering help. Anything that fills the void of what you haven't received from your family might be offered within this family-like structure. But with this comes family-like loyalty. Slowly, you begin to feel pressured into sharing things you're uncomfortable talking about, and you realize that you're emotionally exposed because of it. Yet, you feel forced into doing so. If you refuse, you are subtly threatened with rejection from your so-called family. The narcissist might tell you that you won't be able to stay friends if you continue keeping secrets, as they've revealed everything to you and you're not reciprocating. The narcissist will make you feel like you now hold their secrets, but you're withholding your own, and through this, they will coerce you into sharing things that hold strong emotional value. Even just mentioning them to others in a disconnected way will feel like a threat to you. The narcissist understands this very well, and it will destabilize you, making you appear crazy and unhinged in the eyes of others. Their truth is what they see and how they feel about you, and they craft this truth covertly, using you as a tool against yourself. The most devastating part is that they have a valid point: they never shared your secrets. They use your emotional connection as a form of torture, and no one will ever know about it. The narcissist will deny it, and you won't be able to prove it, even to yourself. You will be left feeling like you're crazy. The evidence is there, and everyone sees how you act in strange ways. You are being surrounded by a reality that's designed to redefine you. It's a consciousness of inversion and distortion, and this is what it does to the entire reality around you and within you as well. It does the same to others. During the love bombing phase, she will push you to your limits, creating additional evidence against yourself for future use. You might be so sleep deprived, for example, because you're constantly dragged into parties, that you begin to act rudely toward those around you. You lose control of your temper. At this stage, she and the group you're in will support you, making you feel that your overreaction was justified. Since you're exhausted and confused, your judgment becomes clouded, and you may continue to act out. They contribute to this. They defend you from the person who, most likely, was actually right. If you refuse to attend the parties, you're subtly threatened with abandonment from the group and accused of lacking loyalty to your so-called family. It all seems very empathic, and they might act as if they truly want to spend time with you, feeling sad that you'll miss all the fun with them. What you don't realize, however, is that some people in the group feel the same way you do. Yet, they're too afraid to speak out because there's an unspoken code of silence. You're scared that if you speak up, you'll be seen as a traitor, or you fear causing unrest within the group, or even breaking the so-called connection you share. On the other hand, you're also aware that because of all the chaos, you might have caused harm to others. Being in this group should be classified as temporary insanity, because that's truly what it feels like. You couldn't judge situations properly, and you may have acted cocky or entitled, rubbing many people the wrong way. Not because you wanted to, but because you were in such an emotional state, simply fighting to survive and not drown. By being part of the group, you are shielded from the consequences of your actions, or the actions of the group you're associated with. As a result, you will be held responsible for things you had no involvement in. This is why so many people support narcissistic structures, institutions, and belief systems in the world. It's because they know that when the narcissistic consciousness collapses, they'll be held responsible, and they are terrified of that. They've been coerced into supporting unconsciousness, and now, everyone would judge them without considering the reasons behind their actions. But I digress. Another thing that happens during the love bombing stage is that the narcissist will put you in situations where you feel so ungrounded, forcing you into behaviors that aren't your own. Over time, you start to lose touch with who you really are, and the most important thing you have, your dignity, begins to slip away. When the narcissist gets you to lose your dignity, they know they've conquered you. At this point, you'll begin working toward your own self-destruction, and they don't have to do anything. The narcissist who leads you to lose your dignity doesn't need to conduct a smear campaign. In fact, they might do the opposite. They might never speak ill of you. Instead, they may only talk kindly about you, suggesting that they don't know what happened, maybe you've lost your mind due to family issues. Alternatively, they may connect your change to someone else in your group, someone they already see as a threat or who they perceive as being aligned with you. They must cover up the fact that it might have been them who destroyed you. An example of a situation that makes you lose your dignity is when she forces you to drink too much. It may start as a fun game, and if you don't want to participate, you're emotionally coerced by being made to feel that you're hurting your family by refusing. Like everyone else there, you drink too much, because she pressures you, but she stays sober. Then, you act in a way that makes you deeply ashamed afterward, or someone might take advantage of you, or you might do something you would never have done when sober, and you don't even remember it. It might all be caught on pictures either by her or others, and you don't know who was at the party, who saw what, or what they might have shared. Now, when you walk around the city, it feels like everyone knows what you did or saw you in that embarrassing situation, or that your pictures are circulating on the internet. Sometimes, there was nothing that embarrassing in what you did, but because of the high standards of behavior you were taught in your family, you might feel extreme shame over something that others see as perfectly normal. Other times, something more serious could have happened. Perhaps you were in a compromising situation with someone you didn't know, or maybe you were taken advantage of sexually, but it's all blamed on you because you were drunk. The intensity of the situation might vary, and behaviors can vary too, but the technique remains the same, whether the behavior is mild or severe. It's the same psychological game and the same psychological torture. You might also have been told by your dear friends that you did things you didn't actually do, and you remain in that terrified and tortured state of mind for a while. Then, they might reveal it was just a joke or prank, which is often just a mild term for extremely psychopathic behavior that you can't call out because you'll be seen as lacking a sense of humor. It also depends on who is doing the pranking. If someone close to you pranks you, it may feel different, but if it's someone who isn't close to you, it's a complete violation of your boundaries. But that's a digression. Sometimes, the narcissist might act like they saved you from doing something when you were drunk, even though they were the ones who got you so intoxicated in the first place. Now, you feel like you owe them an enormous emotional debt because you're so embarrassed that you ended up in that state. They saved you, but this situation wouldn't have happened if they hadn't forced you to drink. You've been taught to take full responsibility for your actions without blaming anyone else, so you won't fully admit this to yourself. Everything that happened that evening, for example, feels like material for blackmail. They may never have outright threatened you, but simply knowing they have it gives them power over you. You feel like you must appease them, terrified that if you make them angry, they'll use everything against you. At some point, after the initial stage where the group feels pure and free from gossip and judgment, you start hearing the narcissist judge other people to you. They share their secrets with you, criticize how others dress or behave, and weirdly enough, it mirrors how you dress and behave. They use your emotional connection to these aspects and torture you with it. You can't accuse them of bullying because they have plausible deniability. What you don't realize is that your emotional connection to certain things is a part of you, and by abusing those things, they are abusing you directly. However, most people don't understand this connection, so the narcissist can easily manipulate it, with no negative consequences for them and all the damaging consequences for you, both individually and as part of the group. They'll often share how they laughed with others you know and like about something, for example, the way someone dresses, just like you do. This traps you in their net, making you feel like no one is free from their influence, and it's as if everyone is against you, thinking the way the narcissist thinks. You start to behave strangely when you meet those people, sensing they are judging or ridiculing you for the way you dress. You feel humiliated and belittled, and they sense a strange vibe from you. You act in ways that may appear provocative or angry, but it's all a shield to protect how deeply hurt and unhappy you are by their judgment. You might even reject them, pushing them away to cope with the emotional pain. And the biggest part of this is that they may have never laughed at anything like this in the first place, or they may have felt coerced into doing so, just like you are coerced into those narcissistic behaviors. Alternatively, they may have just been in the room when the laughter happened, but the narcissist turns the situation into something that becomes a tool for torture while simultaneously granting them plausible deniability every time. I think what I just described is a lot to take in and quite intense, so I'll stop here. What I described is an example of a very covert, skilled narcissist who leaves no evidence against themselves. Everything happens in a dimension we're taught to dismiss, yet everything in the physical dimension seems to be pointing at you. Most of it is happening in your head. It's emotional and psychological torture. There is no way to prove your innocence or victimhood in a physical sense. No one will listen to your story because you look guilty, and the evidence is there, even if you see it. In many cases, you've redefined yourself as bad in your own mind because it was easier to deal with life that way, putting on a wolf's skin to scare or intimidate people so they can't use you anymore. Real victims live broken and smeared. Buzz narcissism, so people around are who produce all that reality mostly unknowingly, and they stay in the middle, just following the unconsciousness leader, not understanding the repercussions of their words, gossip, and actions that seem unharmful to them. And the narcissists stay as winners and as great leaders, good citizens, shining their facade all over the place and maintaining their end system. It is all this way because it is all an inversion. Darvo. Good is defined as bad and bad is defined as good. This is the norm for the world we live in, and when somebody comes and says otherwise, they look as if they are trying to put everything upside down. The only thing is to step away, stop feeding, and all these patterns become just so easy to see. There is then less resource to feed the narcissistic reality, and it will start to melt away after the malicious phase, when it will fight for survival and will seem stronger, and as if we are little in the face of this.